The short version? GTA Online, but driving only. The long version. To start, I grew up with Underground 2 on the GameCube. I know, not the best way to experience it. When I got the PC version like a year ago, the reflections, anti-aliasing, and definition made it almost feel like an entirely new game. Then I nearly shit my pants when raindrops landed on the screen. I never really played Underground 1, and when I did, I'ma be honest, it was very underwhelming. Coming from a game with an open world that I could drive around, with the radio playing, was what I was used to. Being limited to race maps only was a jarring experience. So the first aspect of Underground 3 is a massive open world. Choose any city you want, then make it to scale, or even bigger. We have the technology, especially since interiors won't really be needed. You don't need all that extra disk space for inside buildings, only things like the inside of body, paint, and car shops. Also, make those like GTA 5 as well, where you drive up to one and you see the continuity of your car driving in and back out. Next, atmosphere. Make it only shift between dusk, night, and dawn. We're night crawlers. I'm here to see neon lights, not drown it out in the sun at 1 p.m. Also, rain, and have it change the physics of racing, much like in GTA. And, surprisingly, in real life too. What a concept. I want rain to be a factor in how you approach a race. Also, throw in some fog. Sure, it'll melt some GPUs, but damn will it look good while it's doing it. Next, online play. As stated, it'll be an open world, much like GTA Online. You will have the option to play the open world in a single-player fashion, using NPCs to populate the nighttime drivers. But if you play online, the streets will be filled with other players instead. And much like in Underground 2, you will be able to challenge them to on-the-spot street races that have a finishing line set some ways away, rather than outrunning the player. Many of you will know how messy this sometimes got in Underground 2. The reason I want a finish line rather than an outrun is so that it won't matter if you have a stock car going up against a player in a decked out import. If you know the streets well enough, it could very well give you the upper hand. Rewards for it will be money out of the other player's in-game bank. Of course, you or the other person can decline the street race, as to not be forced to possibly lose money. Now, there will be dedicated racing playlists for each type of race. Sprint, circuit, drift, drag, etc. This way you can jump right into your favorite type of race without having to find randoms in the open world, and hope the area you're in has a good layout for drifting. There will also be open world events, car meets where players can vote on whose car is the best looking. I realize this could make car meets turn competitive, but it's possible you could also vote on whether you want to turn it into a competition. There would also be larger scale street races, and so on. The money you would earn from these would come from a non-player funded pool. The game itself will reward players based on multiple factors to dish out cash. I also want cops, but only for certain things. A dedicated mode where every player in the match is being chased by the cops, and whoever can lose them the fastest gets a higher reward. Police can also interrupt open world events. Getting caught by the cops in open world will make you lose some amount of money. In player-hosted matches, they can select an option that once the race is over, it ends with the police crashing the party, and you seamlessly go back to the open world and must lose the cops. Next, car ownership. You can have a number of cars, customize each one to fulfill what you want from it, or make a jack-of-all-trades type car and have only one. At any given time during open world free roam, you'll be able to select from your list of owned cars which one you want to drive. Before dedicated races, you'll be able to select what car of yours you want to use for it. If you're feeling extra daring, use a drag racing car for drifting, or use a drifting car for off-road. Next, body damage. Don't have it. It's not needed. Maybe some paint scuffs that would disappear on their own after a certain amount of time without reoccurring damage. But that's about it. I don't want to have to go to a body shop after every race, just because my car looks like I tried to perform origami on it with the side of a building. Though it would be funny to pull up to a car meet with a vehicle that looks like I got it straight from the hydraulic crusher. Next, music. Just load it up with music. Tons of it. And let us make our own playlist. And please, for the love of God, do not make it 95% rap. Lastly, story. I don't really care. I'd play this game without a story mode. In all honesty, it might be better to let the game be filled with meta-stories, rather than ones made by the developers. Players compete to become the best scored racer among all the other players online. That's good enough. Most of GTA Online isn't story-oriented, but players keep coming back. I feel the same thing would happen with this game. We would come up with our own stories, our own lore, our own plots. Player-created races could include their own written stories. No cutscenes or voiceovers before or after the race, but our own headcanon to apply the scenario of the description to our personal playthrough. Just give us the framework, and we'll do the rest.